Fran, I actually never heard of you before.
That's really a good way to break the ice.
Hello and thanks for joining us for our weekly film show. I'm joined by France 24's film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hello Lisa. Now Martin Scorsese has made a 7-part documentary series about one of his favourite New York personalities, writer, wit and raconteur Fran Lebowitz. She's not widely known outside the US, but this is the second time the director of Goodfellas and Taxi Driver has turned his camera on her. She was the focus of his film Public Speaking 10 years ago. Now, Lisa, tell us about Pretend It's a City and your love for this series.
Since the pandemic started, one of the things I hear people say a lot is, I could really use a good laugh. Well, Scorsese's series, in which he basically hangs out with his friend Fran Lebowitz, one of America's leading living wits, had me laughing for the better part of 3.5 hours. She wrote 2 books of comic essays, Metropolitan Life in 1978 and Social Studies in 1981, and says she's too lazy to write another one, so she talks instead of writing. And boy, can she talk, mostly in the form of sardonic quips. She loves New York, and I love her approach to making funny observations about everything from Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, where she started writing at age 20, to the decline of bookstores and newspapers. I wasn't surprised to hear that she doesn't have a cell phone. She says she has never texted. But I was surprised that she has never owned a computer. In fact, not even a typewriter. I mean, even Snoopy has a typewriter.
This is from Pretend It's a City.
It would take one subway ride for the Dalai Lama to turn into a lunatic, raging person.
I'm the only person who's lived in New York as long as I have who has never made a correct real estate decision.
Do people buy books here?
At this kiosk, no.
Do you think it's fair to bring a book into Times Square? It's not fair to the books. People want to challenge themselves. I find real life challenging enough.
Does complaining change anything?
Not so far. I mean, of course, I'm a young woman.
Now, Lisa, I'm sensing that you identify a bit with Fran Lebowitz, don't you?
Well, Lebowitz and I share the same goal in life, to just loll around reading. She describes her search for an apartment she can afford that will hold her 10,000 books. She says if you can read, you're incredibly rich. One of the things voracious reader Lebowitz observes is that people didn't used to expect to see themselves in books, and now they do. There's a demand for representation. A book, she says, is not a mirror, it's a door. As much as she loves to read, she has had amazing experiences in the real world, too. Jazz great Charles Mingus once came to her parents' house in New Jersey for Thanksgiving, for example. Scorsese, as we know, is a gifted filmmaker, and Fran is a gifted, funny person. An audience member at one of her many talks asks, how can one develop a sense of humor? And Fran says, the same way you can develop height. These 7 loosely thematic episodes, all filmed before the pandemic took hold and so thus full of crowded streets, are comprised almost entirely of Fran talking, and it never gets dull. That's some good talking. How dicey was Manhattan in the 1970s? Well, buildings had a nasty habit of just collapsing from one day to the next. The series is dedicated to her close friend, the late Toni Morrison, who you see her speaking with, as well as with Alec Baldwin and Spike Lee. There's one thing she didn't do that I would have done. She was invited to a small dinner party with Leni Riefenstahl, who lived to be 101. Riefenstahl was, of course, the filmmaker who, with more cameras than most male directors have ever seen in one place, helped cement the notion of Aryan athletic beauty and white supremacy for her close friend Hitler. Horrible human being, glorious filmmaker. Fran refused to go. I would have gone, just to make sure there was at least one Jew at the table.
Okay, well, that series, Pretend It's a City, is on Netflix now. Next to an online film festival celebrating French movies, it's something to keep us going until cinemas reopen again. It's called MyFrenchFilmFestival. It's on for a month. Tell us more.
Well, it's not exactly world peace, but it is a very well-designed French initiative that has the potential power to unite viewers all over the world, and maybe get them hooked on French movies, which is the sneaky underlying mission. Unifrost, the professional body dedicated to promoting French cinema beyond French borders, sensed the future 11 years ago when they started this 100% online festival. It's incredibly affordable, even free in many parts of the globe, and the offerings, there are 33 French films, are subtitled in 10 languages. The short films are free to watch everywhere, a reported 200 territories. The features are free to watch throughout Africa and Latin America, as well as South Korea, Southeast Asia, Poland, Romania, and Russia. Everywhere else, it's €1.99 per film, or €7.99. That's less than $10 to watch the entire package of films.
So is there one film you can recommend for us?
Well, there are several. I hope to spotlight one per week while this is going on, but don't wait for me to steer you. It be adventurous. Enorme or enormous is an unnerving and frequently funny combination of ideas unlike any other film of 2020. It won the Prix Jean Vigo, awarded each year to a film whose originality impresses the jury. Now, if you want to see a film that doesn't shy away from the workings of women's bodies or the unexplored corners of men's feelings, this is for you. Marina Foïs, a gifted comedian who excels at both comic and serious roles and who has been announced to host the upcoming César Awards ceremony, co-stars as world-famous classical pianist Claire Girard. Claire concentrates exclusively on her music. Her adoring husband, Frédéric, handles everything else as they travel the world for her to perform. They have a pact to not have children, since their busy schedule wouldn't be fair to a child. But after Frédéric accidentally helps deliver a baby on an airplane, his paternal instinct is awakened and he decides to trick Claire into getting pregnant.
Comment t'as pu me faire ça?
Écoute, Claire, je vais m'en occuper.
Tu vas faire tout seul?
Votre femme n'a pas pu vous accompagner?
Elle travaille.
Ça va?
Mais ouais, toi.
Ouais.
Je te présente Biboune.
Oh, bonjour Biboune, comment ça va?
Et moi, c'est Claire.
Oh, bonjour Claire, ça va?
J'ai mangé du camembert et après, pour faire passer le goût du camembert, j'ai pris du vin.
Tu es folle?
Mais moi, je veux du fromage, je prends du fromage.
Y a pas de fromage, c'est du poison, ça! Biboune!
It looks amusing, but in an era focused on consent, this might strike some people as unforgivable.
Well, yes, but director and co-writer Sophie Letourneur has found a way to make the desire to be a father, even if it means maliciously tricking your own wife, register as a guerrilla action with merit. It seems like a very French send-up of traditional gender roles until a wildly surreal development I won't spoil. I liked it less as it went along, doing a very deep dive into the nitty-gritty of pregnancy and birth, but the setup and the central performances are impressive. A high-profile jury will watch the feature films in competition and designate award winners after the festival closes on February 15th.
Okay, well, now, Lisa, it's not the best time to go to film school, but people stuck at home can watch some incredible movie-making masterclasses from the likes of John Malkovich, Ken Loach and Francis Ford Coppola, thanks to a Parisian film institution. What can you tell us about that?
Paris's Forum des Images offers an incredible free option for learning about how to make movies from people who make movies. They've put their collection of in-person masterclasses online for anybody to enjoy. You'll need to understand French for many of them, but there's also a fine selection in English. For example, Oliver Stone, whose mother was French and took him to the movies, stopped by the Forum just a few months ago in early October in conjunction with the translation of his memoirs into French. Let's listen.
When you're a screenwriter, and a director, you have to think with a clock. You always think with a clock because, oh, they're going to get bored, right? Or when you see the audience restless, you got to rethink that shot or cut it or trim it. And when I'm writing, I get lost in time. And of course, it's way too long. And then I suffer because I have to edit down because life is not a movie. But yet I adhere to the movie rules of keep it moving.
I was in the auditorium for the screenwriting class given by Paul Schrader, and it was incredible. He told us precisely how he writes a script. Real nitty-gritty, step-by-step stuff, priceless, really. Edgar Wright, Agnieszka Holland, Agnes Varda, Michael Caine, James Gray, the list is breathtaking. And the Forum des Images is sponsored by Paris City Hall. So wherever you are, you can go to film school digitally for free, courtesy of the French government.
Okay, we're going to end with an award-winning film that stars fan favourite, the Danish star Mads Mikkelsen, well known for his role as Hannibal in the TV series. It took the top spot at the recent European Film Awards and is Denmark's entry to the Oscars. Why should we see another round, or Drunk, as it's called here in France?
Writer-director Thomas Vinterberg's midlife crisis film about a quartet of 4 school-teaching buddies who endeavor to remain just a bit tipsy at all times would have premiered in the Cannes Film Festival last May, inspired by a since more nuanced Norwegian theory that people should maintain a certain blood alcohol level in order to live happy lives. It gives the always fun-to-watch Mads Mikkelsen yet another chance to shine and shimmy.
It's also going to make us all want to go to the pub, Lisa. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to leave you with a glimpse of another round. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Nej, det er vi ikke.
Forklar det for børnene, hvad som har hændt.
Jeg blev lidt fuld i går.
Jeg har hele tiden synes, det var fint, at I eksperimenterede alt muligt, men det her, det er overgrænset.
Jeg går ikke ud fra, at der er nogen her, der har et problem, vi skal vide noget om.
France by France 24. From the workshop to the catwalk, follow the latest trends on fashion. From fine dining to architecture and much more, discover uniquely French talents on You Are Here. Straight talking and frank views from residents of France's tough suburbs who film their lives for the Bonheur Project. An in-depth look at political and social events shaping France in France in Focus. A quirky insider's guide to understanding France and the French on French Connections. Every day, watch France by France 24 on France 24 and France24.com.